You have already wondered if there is an invisible force that protects certain signs from the zodiac and punishes who dare hurt them. What if I told you that hurting a twins is not just an emotional error, but a cosmic violation with deep spiritual consequences? Edgar Cayce, the invisible prophet, made a revelation forgotten by many, a prophecy that involves the sign of twins and an ancestral curse that activates when his soul is injured. Gemini, the sign of duality, the verb, the bridge between worlds, is not just an astrological symbol. He is a portal, a channel between plans. And when this channel is violated, something awakens. A spiritual echo reverberates in the universe and charges a high price. This is not just a hidden truth, it's a warning. Because according to Cayce, hurt a twins is to open doors that should remain sealed. Do you feel goosebumps to hear this? Perhaps because it has already felt this energy. Perhaps because at some point, he crossed the path of a Gemini and awakened unknowingly, a karmic return cycle. Many try to understand twins for logic, but they forget that their essence is in the invisible, the etheric, the prophetic, and that's where the danger lives. The universe does not forgive those who hurt the messenger, and the Gemini, even unknowingly, carries spiritual codes that make him protected and at the same time dangerous for those who try to dominate or silence him. Have you wounded a twins? Or is it one of them and feels that something bigger protects you and charges you? If this message came to you, know it's no coincidence, because what comes next can reveal why certain meetings were not mere chances, but called masked spiritual coincidence. If at some point in your life you have moved away from a twins and shortly after, it began to feel that things came out of control, this video can deliver you the missing answer. The energies that surround the sign of twins are much older than we imagine. We are not just talking about personality traits. We are dealing with spiritual flows, astral codes, forces that operate beyond logic. Therefore, understanding what Edgar Cayce revealed is not just a mystical curiosity. It's a warning, a protective key, and perhaps even a request for cosmic reconciliation. Comment down here if you are from twins or have lived something inexplicable after moving away or hurting someone from this sign. Your comment may be more than a story. It may be the sign that someone else is looking for now. And if this message is messing with something inside you, don't ignore it. Enjoy this video now and activate the bell, because what we will reveal below will show you why twins is not just a sign, but a sacred portal between plans. And if you are not yet registered, the time has come to be part of this space of revelation and awakening. Here, each video is a fragment of a greater truth, and those who follow know the universe does not send signs in vain. If you are here, it is because you needed to hear that. And the next passage will show you what really happens when a Gemini is injured, and the universe decides to intervene. Have you ever wondered if some people carry something more, something invisible but impossible to ignore? Already had the strange feeling that in hurting someone, even unintentionally, a sequence of negative events simply began to unfold in your life, as if the universe were returning you with interest? What if I told you that this is no coincidence, especially when the person in question is from twins? What we will continue to reveal now is not just astrology. It is deep spirituality. It is pure karmicity. We are talking about energy, resonance, a cosmic curse that acts as an inverted spiritual mirror. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, channeled hidden truths from other dimensions, and one of his most enigmatic predictions concerned exactly the sign of twins. He claimed that twins is the only sign of the zodiac that can dwell two plans simultaneously. While all other signs move within the linearity of material life, twins have the ability to touch the visible and the invisible, to talk to what is out of time, to realize what cannot be explained. This makes this sign highly connected, but also extremely sensitive to energy interference, especially when injured, and that's where it all starts to complicate. When a Gemini is betrayed, disrespected, deceived, or underrated, he does not react. Only on the emotional plane, its spiritual vibration is touched, and consequently everything around it is restructuring in order to restore balance. But this balance, when activated, is not subtle. He is karmic. He is blunt. It is as if the very energy that was unbalanced created a force field around the Gemini, activating ancient code that returns to pain, not as revenge, but as spiritual correction. Many people report this without even realizing that there is something bigger involved. They say things like, "After I got away from him, my life turned upside down," or, "It seems that it all started to go wrong after I cut that person of twins of my life." And the most curious thing is that the Gemini himself often does not even know the power he carries. He just feels. He feels that he attracts intense situations, that everything around him vibrates very fast, that the connections he makes are too deep to be just human. And that's exactly why hurting it has consequences. Because you are not just moving with a person, you are playing in a subtle field that is attached to the highest dimensions. There are reports of premonitory dreams after these ruptures. Dreams with eyes watching, with encrypted messages, with the presence of ancestors or spiritual guides that seem to warn about something poorly resolved. Others say they began to see repeated number standards, such as 1111, 2222, or feel frequent goosebumps, inexplicable noises, objects falling out of nowhere, all shortly after a conflict with someone in this sign. Are they signs? Are they warnings? Are they portals opening, or just coincidences? Edgar Cayce said that the signs always appear to those who are awake. And if you are watching this video here, it is because there is something in you that is also awakening. Gemini is an air sign, governed by Mercury, the messenger of the gods. And this regency is not a poetic metaphor. It is literal within spiritual language. Gemini are plumbing. They are instruments of speech, writing, music, thought. But more than that, they are code receptors. When you hurt a channel, the message that should be corrupted, and the universe reacts, because there is a mission involved. To hurt a Gemini is to try to silence a frequency that was sent with purpose, and everything that has the purpose has protection. Therefore, the cosmic reaction happens. That is why the curse is activated. You may be remembering something now. Maybe a person came to your mind right now. Or maybe you are twins and finally understand why certain breakups were so intense, why certain people simply collapsed after trying to erase you. And this is where the truth begins to weigh. It is not an ego. It is not personal revenge. It is energy justice, of rebalancing spiritual flow. The universe is accurate, mathematician even. And when an important piece is touched, like a mission Geminian, the entire tray moves. So, before calling drama, exaggeration, instability, stop and observe. Gemini doesn't feel things in half. Even looking distracted or light, your soul is always decoding everything around. And when wounded, it is not just in silence. Often, if it disappears, it is because the spiritual field around it has been activated. And that means that those who hurt him even without realizing it opened a door that sometimes has no return. This is why understanding this content is so important. It is not about magazine astrology. It is about spiritual codes that operate between the lines of life, about divine protection, about destination. And if you have lived something similar, if you have already moved away from a twins and saw your life change dramatically, maybe that is the confirmation you expected. Comment here, "I saw this happen," if you have already witnessed this strength. Or write, "I carry this energy," if you are from twins and feel that something bigger follows you. Your comment is not just engagement, it is a ritual of spiritual recognition. And if this video is touching you, enjoy now, subscribe, and activate the notifications. Edgar Cayce, known as the man who saw beyond the veil of reality, accurately described a spiritual truth that few dared to explore. Twins is not simply a sign of the zodiac. It is a communication portal between plans, and portals were not made to be violated. They exist to maintain the flow of energy between the divine and the terrain, between soul and matter. When Cayce dived into his trance, states, he accessed ancestral records which he himself called Akashic records, and there, amid ancient spiritual codes, was the sign, "Gemini is messenger of forces that do not manifest with common words." To hurt this channel is to provoke the balance of the cosmos, and the cosmos never reacts with neutrality. For Edgar Cayce, each sign has an energetic function in the great spiritual plane, and that of twins is to keep the channels open between realities. This means that a Gemini, however, apparent lightness, distraction, or inconstancy on the surface, carries a vibrational sensitivity that makes him capable of capturing and transmitting information that is not visible to ordinary eyes. He is the translator of the invisible. What he feels, even if he does not say, is real. What he presents, even if he doubts, is a sign. When Cayce and he spoke of twins, he referred to this sign as a mirror of dimensions, and that is why, when injured, this mirror breaks, and the break reverberates on both sides of the veil, here and beyond. And the most disturbing thing is that this break is not limited to emotional pain. According to Cayce's views, when a Gemini is broken into his mission, whether by a betrayal, an injustice, or an attempt at silencing, he becomes unintentionally a point of energy collision. And who caused the imbalance not only moves away, begins to feel the waves of return, health problems, inexplicable losses, disturbing dreams, recurring conflicts, and even episodes of strong emotional instability are some of the most common manifestations, and you may even try to ignore, rationalize, explain logically, but the spiritual field does not operate by the same laws of mind. Gemini, under Cayce's gaze, was a sign protected by spiritual entities that act silently. They are beings who do not show themselves but observe and act. When they realize that the channel they keep was invaded by low vibration energy, such as envy, manipulation, contempt, or abuse, they do not interfere directly. They only open the way for the consequence to happen. Cayce said that spirituality does not punish, but returns. It returns everything that has been sown out of time on sacred soil. And yes, twins, with all its complexity, is this soil. This vision completely changes the way we should relate to the signs, don't you think? Because it forces us to understand that we are dealing with strength, not stereotypes, that each person carries an energy role in the divine plane, and that hurting someone is not just a moral error, it can be a spiritual offense. With twins, this intensifies, because we are facing a soul that moves between worlds, who dreams of symbols, who speaks what the other has not yet understood, who feels omens as if they were memories. Harrying this type of energy is like erasing the only flashlight in a dark tunnel. And don't think this happens only between lovers or friends. I've seen parents who have completely lost their bond with Gemini children after ignoring their sensitivity. I saw leaders who tried to silence a Gemini's voice at work and were eventually unmasked shortly thereafter. I saw relationships in which the person only discovered the depth of what he lost after the spiritual connection was broken. And all of this carries a pattern. It is as if, as the messenger warders the universe close a door, and on the other side, the echoes of what it might have been, but it won't be. There is also a curious point that Cayce pointed out. Twins by nature has the gift of forgiving, but this forgiveness does not prevent the wheel from spinning, because the universe does not forgive in the place of the spirit. The forgiveness of the Gemini can be sincere, but the energy of what was done continues to move, being processed by universal laws. And so many times, even when everything seems resolved, what was activated continues to act behind the scenes of reality. It is as if the wound was already healed, but the curse, if activated, was already fulfilling itself. Edgar Cayce also said that the signs of activating this curse are almost always preceded by subtle sensations, changes in the vibrational field of the house, increased emotional sensitivity, animals that become restless, devices that fail without reason, dreams with recurring messages, or even strange silence that seems to swallow the environment. For those who are not aware, all this goes unnoticed. But for those who know, for those who feel, every detail is a warning, a call, a reminder that what seemed just a human conflict touched something bigger. If you've ever lived, you know what I'm talking about. If you have tried to forget a twins, you have already ignored you. You have doubted your sensitivity. You may have felt shortly thereafter that something has changed, not just outside, but inside you. Perhaps this change has manifested itself as restlessness, as a difficult shadow to name, as a sequence of events that seem disconnected but now make sense. It is because you have moved a sacred field. And Cayce warned, every time someone interferes with the route of a soul with spiritual mission, this interference is cost, and the universe, patient as it is, charges at the right time. If this has resonated with you, I want you to help me now expand this energy. Comment down here. I felt the return, if you have already been impacted by something like this. Or write, I'm a channel between worlds, if you are from twins and recognize this truth in your story. Each comment here strengthens the spiritual field of our space. And if you haven't signed up yet, that's the moment. Enjoy this video now and activate the notifications. Gemini is not just a sign. It is a puzzle that breathes between two worlds. There is a visible, social, logical, quick part in thinking and acting. It is the twins that delights, that speaks, that transits through groups as if it floats on reality. But behind this glow is the other face, the one that few know and many judge without understanding. This second face lives on the invisible plan. It is intuitive, spiritual, deeply connected with forces that have no name but manifest themselves as spells, signs, goosebumps, and dreams that look like messages. It is this duality that defines the Gemini essence. The body lives here, but the soul touches beyond. And it is precisely to live in this constant energy bridge that Gemini feels everything double. What is said to him is not only heard, is deciphered. What is meaning is not just emotion. It is vibrational translation. Gemini carries an ancient gift, inherited from spiritual lineages far beyond linear time. He is a messenger of higher forces, a transmitter between heaven and earth. And so, when this soul is injured, the consequence goes beyond the emotional field. The pain is not restricted to the moment. It reverberates. She echoes. And the universe, when feeling this energy rupture, responds accurately. Cayce called it inverted mirror, an ancestral curse that does not manifest itself with shouts or punishments, but with reflections, as if every action directed against twins were absorbed by this mirror and, instead of erasing, was redirected back, multiplied by the frequency of those who issued it. And it is important to understand, this is not revenge, it is a vibrational law. The mirror does not choose what to reflect, it only returns with proportional intensity. And the more spiritualized the Gemini, the more polished this mirror is, the faster the return, the more powerful the answer. Therefore, so many people report the same pattern. They move away from a twins in an abrupt, unfair, or cruel way, and shortly thereafter, they feel that their reality begins to collapse. They can't explain why. Relationships go down, work crashes, sleep is disturbed, as if a shadow accompanied them. In fact, it is not a shadow. It is reflex. It is the return energy that was unintentionally activated because when injuring a spiritual channel, you broke an invisible covenant. The universe observes and responds. Within this mystical structure, the Gemini also pays a high price. He is not just the carrier of the connection, he feels the cracks on both sides. When it is injured, not only suffers, he unbalances. Your mind accelerates, your sleep breaks, your intuition shouts. It is as if a spiritual wave were activated within it, and he were forced to recalibrate the entire field around. Does this make you unstable? For those who watch outside, may seem, but in fact, it is because he is trying to maintain the balance of two worlds at the same time. And when one of them is invaded, everything vibrates off the axis. Gemini, when injured, often silence, but this silence is not indifference. It is protection. It is the time required for the dimensions that inhabit it, reorganize the frequencies. He walks away to avoid an energy collapse, because you know, even if unconsciously, that your pain reverberates, that your anger creates ruptures, that your truth, if spoken at the wrong time, can destroy instead of healing. And that's why the Gemini disappears, not to escape, but to preserve. This behavior, however, is often misunderstood. Many say, twins disappear out of nowhere. Twins is cold. Twins shut down quickly. But what few understand is that when he turns off, it is because something much deeper was hit. He turns off from the other to reconnect to what is sacred inside him. It closes the portal so that energy does not continue to be sucked. And this is protection. I do not escape. It is spirituality, not detachment. Gemini is absent to heal what the other unknowingly hurt. But there is an even more delicate point in all this. Twins can also activate the mirror against oneself. When he betrays his essence, when he tries to fit into the world of one face, when he represses his spiritual gifts in exchange for social acceptance, he breaks his own flow, and the mirror turns to him. This is why many Gemini go through periods of deep crisis, when they feel that everything crumbles. It is the collapse of the portal. It is the consequence of having moved away from its true gift, because the universe protects but also requires. And with twins, the collection comes in the form of an internal reflection. anxiety, insomnia, existential doubts, identity crises. All this is not just emotional, it is energetic. These cycles only cease when the Gemini realizes, when he recognizes that it was not made to live only in the logical world, that your gift is the bridge, not the destination, and that the price of neutrality is too high for those born to be a channel. And when this recognition happens, all around it rebuilds. The mirror shines again, the messages return, the signs appear, and the universe once again repositions it at the center of its mission. If you are from twins and feel that your life lives between extreme, between light and shadow, between presence and escape, maybe now you understand why. You are the mirror, you are the portal, and if you have hurt you, you know exactly what I'm saying. And if you wounded someone from twins, maybe this is the time to look back and realize that the pieces that fell into your life, they fell after that. If this spoke to you, comments here. I'm the mirror. If you have lived this kind of energy return after moving away from a Gemini, right? The reflection has reached me. And if you want to strengthen this spiritual journey with us, enjoy this video, activate the notifications and subscribe to the channel. And then, suddenly, it all starts to leave the place. You wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason, with your heart rapidly feeling as if you had forgotten something important, even without remembering what. There is a presence in the room, even if invisible. A strange breeze runs through the spine. Objects seem to change, places alone. The atmosphere gets heavier. The lights blink. The noises of the house change. And you feel deep down that something has been triggered. Something that has no name, but carries an ancestral weight. This is when many people start to ask themselves, did I activate any energy unintentionally? Or more specifically, was hurting that Geminian the trigger for all this? This doubt, as absurd as it may seem at first, is more common than you might think, because the signs are everywhere. And when the universe wants to show that something was moved beyond what it should, it doesn't use words. It uses vibration. And who is minimally sensitive feels. First comes the cold in the back of the neck. It's not fear, it is intuition. Then dreams change. They are no longer disconnected narratives and look like messages, warnings. Some see figures, others listen to names. There are those who wake up at 3:33 a.m. for days in a row, as if they were being called somewhere in the invisible. Coincidence? Difficultly, because when a spiritual curse is activated, it is not announced as in movies. It infiltrates. She pulsates in silence. It changes the field. Many people who have gone through this report sudden losses, not just material objects or goods, but from people, opportunities, important connections. It is as if the life of this a knot. Things start to crash, not to get out of place. And the more one tries to force the flow, the more he closes. This is because the Gemini curse is not a punishment, but a vibrational response that cuts the flow of energy around those who cause the imbalance. It is as if the universe said, until it is restored, nothing more advances. And this stagnation manifests itself in the details. Meaningless delays, emails that never arrive, messages that are not delivered, commitments that are unmarked. Everything indicates that time is being readjusted. And there is another detail. Animals realize. It is common that, around someone who activated this curse, dogs are agitated for no reason, cats avoid certain spaces, birds shut up, plants dry even with regular care. The atmosphere is losing life subtly, as if they were being drained. This is not superstition, it is energy. Spiritual energy reacting to interference. Gemini, by carrying this bridge between plans, has around it a natural protection network. And when this network is violated, it closes and repositioned itself, leaving the one that caused the imbalance outside the vital vibration. Now think, have you ever moved away from a Geminian in a sudden, unfair, or cold way? Have you used words that you knew they would hurt? Or did you act indifferently even though you know how sensitive that soul was? Perhaps at that moment it did not give importance. Perhaps I thought it was just another connection breaking. But then the signs began. The frequency of your house has changed. Dreams became dark. The days were dragged. And as much as I tried to move on, something always pulled you back. This is what we are revealing here. The spiritual weight of hurting those who carry a bridge mission. And twins is, in essence, This bridge. Signs can also manifest in the body. Inapplicable pain, chest pressure, dizziness, nausea without apparent physical reason, and more than that, a feeling that something is always happening, as if living on the threshold of a revelation, but never reaching it. This energy anxiety is the result of the unregulated vibrational field. You are not sick, you are in disagreement with spiritual flow, and this, most of the time, is not resolved with medicine. It is resolved with conscience, with sincere regret, with reconnection. Another important point is the pattern of repetition. People who activated this curse without knowing often repeat the same mistakes in different relationships. They live cycles of emotional frustration, start projects and do not end, face financial difficulties even with talent and effort. The time seems to slip. Opportunities close without explanation. This is because the field around them is in misalignment. And many times, it all started with a break that involved a Gemini. When the mirror was cracked, when the portal was injured, the imbalance began to spread. No wonder many come back. They try to reconnect with that Geminian, not just for longing, but because they feel something was open, that there was no real closure, that there is a stagnant energy between the two. And this feeling is not delirium. It is spiritual truth. Gemini is not just emotional memory. It is energy memory. And those who come in their frequency, even if for a brief moment, bear a fragment of this connection. If the connection was positive, this fragment becomes protection. But if it was negative, it becomes noise. And the noise charges presence until he is healed. If something I've said so far has awakened in you memories, sensations, goosebumps, so maybe that's the time to recognize the signal, because he is there. It has always been, and just needed to be named. Comment now on, I felt the sign, if something in your life fits this vibration. If you have experienced intense changes after hurting a twins, write, the field has broken. And if you are from twins and feel all this with absurd intensity, comments, I am the bridge. This is not just a video here, it's a mirror. And each comment activates a new fragment of this collective truth that we are reconstructing together. Enjoy, subscribe, and stay with me, because what comes next will reveal why the Gemini is the guardians of the message, and what happens when this message is ignored. Even with all this vibrational force that responds to any attempt at imbalance, it is essential to understand that the Gemini soul does not exist to cause curse. It exists to fulfill mission. A rare, often misunderstood spiritual mission even by those who carry it. Gemini is, first of all, a being of revelation. He is born with the spiritual ability to translate what is hidden, to name what no one sees, to verbalize truths that are still born within the other. And this by itself is already one of the most complex tasks of existence, because we are not talking about common communication. We are talking about spiritual transmission. The mission of twins is not to stand out socially, nor to be the most charismatic of the group. This is just a superficial reflection of what happens inside. Its true mission is to be a channel, healing channel, hidden information, ancestral wisdom. And this explains why many Gemini goes through life feeling different, displaced, misunderstood. No matter how much they adapt, there is always an internal background that pulsates, you are here for something bigger. And this something bigger is almost always linked to the awakening of other consciences. Gemini has the gift of touching the other with words, with eyes, with small phrases that echo for days in the mind of others. He activates unknowingly. Wake up without asking permission, because this is your call. But this gift comes at a price. Being a bridge between worlds means carrying the impact of both. It is as if the Gemini were constantly crossed by messages, sensations, signs, sometimes excessive, sometimes without explanation. He dreams things that later meet. He feels the pain of the next door, even when the other does not say a word. It realizes the weight of the environment, the silence that screams, the spiritual noise where no one else sees. It gets tired, it wears out. This can lead the Gemini to try to deny their nature, to seek a normal life. But the more he escapes his mission, the more the universe pushes him back to the center of the portal. And that is why, when injured, cosmic reaction is not a punishment. It is a protection activation. Gemini carries an invisible law surrounding him, something similar to a field of return. This law acts silently but accurately. It does not always manifest itself in the same way. Sometimes it comes as deliverance. The Gemini is taken from situations that would drain his energy. People disappear from his life for no apparent reason. Other times, this protection comes as synchronicity, meetings that change everything, messages that appear at the right time, doors that close so that others, more aligned with their mission, open soon after. This network of spiritual protection exists because the presence of twins is functional to the larger spiritual plane. He is not on Earth just to learn personal lessons. He is part of the plane that moves collective consciousness. And the universe, by wisdom, protects those who are part of the plan. But this protection does not prevent you from feeling. On the contrary, she pushes him to dive even deeper into his own sensitivity, so that through it, he fulfills what he came to fulfill. Many Gemini, however, only access the awareness of this mission after a large breakup. After being injured deeply, after silence, they disappear. They move away from the world. It is in these moments of retraction that the Gemini soul begins to reorganize spiritually. What seems isolation is reconnection. What seems cold is internal reconstruction. It is in this silence that he again listens to the voice of the Spirit saying, "Return to the mission." And when he comes back stronger, more centered, clearer, because now he knows who he is and what he carries. Harrying a twins, therefore, is not just an act of emotional disrespect. It is an attempt to delete a frequency that does not belong to it. It's like trying to cut the line of an instrument that conveys a melody that the universe still needs to hear. And the universe, realizing this, moves, protects, restaurant, removes, transmute. Because what is at stake is greater than the relationship between two people, is the continuity of a spiritual mission. This is why so many Gemini returns from their pains with a different shine, with greater clarity, with a spiritual maturity that seems to have not come from this plan. Because every wound they receive, if well metabolized, becomes wisdom. Each pain becomes language, each farewell towards. And that is why hurting them, besides being dangerous, is to waste the opportunity to be with someone who, by their own nature, has been sent to teach, heal, provoke, and reveal. If you are feeling now that this description hits your story, if you are twins and always felt that your pain came with hidden messages, then this may be the time to recognize you are not common, you are channel. And if you are not twins, but you have already lived with one and now realize that his removal was not a whim, but protection, so maybe the universe is handing you a new chance to understand what was misunderstood before. Comment here, "My pain became direction," if you are twins and went through this awakening. Or writes, "Now I understand his silence has lived with a Gemini and is recognizing the signs now." But there is something that needs to be said with all the clarity and depth that this truth requires. Something that not all Gemini is prepared to face, and that many who relate to twins also insist on ignoring. There is a point where the spiritual protection that surrounds this soul begins to fail, not because the universe leaves him, but because the Gemini himself abandons himself. When twins disconnect from its essence, when it tries to live as if it were common, when it chokes its sensitivity, it shuts down. It moves away from its spiritual mission. He is no longer a channel. And what once flowed as a river of wisdom begins to stagnate. It is at this moment that the protection goes out. And with her, everything that supported the balance of her field begins to crumble. The mind accelerates too much. Thoughts run over. Internal confusion intensifies. The connection with the subtle plane fragments, and it feels empty, disconnected, meaningless. Many describe this state as a blackout of the soul, and that's exactly that. Because when twins do not channel, it accumulates, and the accumulation of spiritual energy that is not expressed becomes weight, shadow, becomes chaos. This is why so many Geminians live so intense cycles of ups and downs. This is not a free emotional instability. It is a direct reflection of your spiritual state. When they are aligned with their mission, with their gifts, with their true essence, everything flows. Life opens, connections multiply, ideas come in waves, and the universe responds with constant synchronics. But when they move away from their light, when they try to fit in molds that were not made for them, they become unstable portals. Everything around you is confused. Worse, They themselves become catalysts of chaos that once helped heal. The soul of twins is an antenna. It is designed to capture and transmit. If this antenna does not transmit, it interferes. If she does not express, she implodes. And this internal implosion can manifest itself in countless forms: existential crises, sudden loss of course, anguish without visible cause, a feeling of being out of its own body, as if living a reality that does not belong to it. And this is not an exaggeration. It is a vibrational collapse. It is the scream of the suffocated mission. And there is a very clear pattern in all this. The Gemini who represses his truth inevitably begins to attract relationships and situations that only reinforce his disconnection. He surrounds himself with people who do not really hear him, who mock his sensitivity, who doubt their gifts. He starts to live in environments where he cannot say what he feels, nor feel what he perceives. And the more it tries to adapt, the more it goes out. More is lost. More moves away than a legitimate channel of the invisible. This removal, however, is not definitive. The universe does not give up who has mission. It sends signs. He pokes. It provokes. And often, the many collapses in the life of a Gemini happen exactly for this, to push him back to the center. Losses, disruptions, crises, diseases, all this, when it happens in sequence, can be a spiritual call for him to come back, to reconnect with who it is, with what it came to do, because the greater the mission, the greater the impact of the absence. Gemini was not made to live in the automatic. It does not work on autopilot. His soul feeds on the unusual, spiritual, symbol, the hidden, the language of the invisible. When he tries to live a square, predictable, disconnected from the spiritual, he gets sick. And worse, the energy around him also gets sick, because a clogged channel creates noise, and spiritual noise generates blockages. This is why many people move away from Gemini when they are at this stage. It's not personal, it is vibrational. The frequency is too low, the portal is messy, and the universe, by wisdom, isolates until it cleans itself. But there is a secret key to return, and this key is in the sound, in the word, in the expression. When the Gemini decides to say what he kept, writing what he hid, singing what he silenced, he begins to clean the channel. When you dream and value your own dreams again, when you write down the signs, when you allow your intuition to guide your steps, the field begins to reorganize. The protection comes back, the internal light rekindles, the spiritual mission is refers. Because the universe is always willing to restore what still vibrates in truth. If you are from twins and feel that you have lived this intense oscillation, this feeling of being out of place, perhaps this is the time to recognize you are not broken, you are disconnected, and this disconnection is not your fault. It is a reflection of trying to adapt too much. I believed it needed to be something it is not. But now, hearing this, perhaps a part of yours is awakening, and this is a sign that there is still time, there is still return, there is still way. If you are feeling this, write down here, I want to reconnect. If you have ever lived this spiritual blackout and managed to go back to you, comment, I came back to my center. And if you know someone from twins who need to hear it, share this video. And maybe now, after all that has been said, you are feeling that inner silence that only appears when something really deep touches what is asleep. Because this was not just a video about the Gemini sign, it was a spiritual revelation, a silent call so that you, who feels different, realize that what you live is no exaggeration, not weakness, not excessive sensitivity. It is language, it is mission, it is subtle code, it is living energy crossing your soul for the purpose of awakening who you really are, and it has always been. If you listen to each word with an open heart, then you are already involved in this field. You are already connected to the Gemini frequency, either by birth or energy affinity, because someone who marked your life carries this spiritual signature. There is no coincidence when it comes to spiritual portals. There is vibrational attraction. You only got here because it was called to remember, called to position itself, called to acknowledge that when hurting certain spirits, something breaks down, but also called to see that healing is available, that reconnection is possible, that the mission still pulsates. The energy of twins continues to vibrate even in silence. It continues to cross the walls of time, even when the mind doubts. And who has had a Gemini in life knows it is impossible to forget it, because he doesn't just go through memories. He leaves codes, he leaves traces, he leaves fragments of something that seems dream, but at the same time carries the strength of personal prophecy. And that's why, even after breaking, even after the departure, even after prolonged silences, many people still feel. They still dream, still hear the name, they still remember, because it wasn't just a person, it was a channel. And if you, who are from twins, feel in conflict with this energy, feel tired of not being understood, tired of oscillating between wanting to disappear and wanting to say everything, know that this is also part of the journey, because being a bridge is not easy. Crossing the invisible to translate into visible requires resistance, requires courage, requires faith in something that is not seen. But you were prepared. You have been shaped for this. Each fall, every silence, every lonely dawn was part of the forge, part of the cut of your gift. And the world needs your voice, your vision, your vibration, even if you still don't understand, even if you still reject it, even if you find you too much. Who understands what you carry, do not find you exaggerated. You find you necessary. You find you lighthouse. Because deep down, many feel what you feel, but don't know how to translate. You translate, you capture, you deliver, and this surrender, when made with consciousness, becomes healing. Ask for those who hear you, healing for those who connect, healing for those who cross their way without knowing that there, right there, someone sent by something bigger to activate sleeping parts of the soul. And now, I need you not to let this energy die here. I need you to share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might have wounded a twins and is now reaping the consequences without understanding why, or someone who is from twins and is about to give up on himself because he thinks his sensitivity is a mistake, when, in fact, it is a gift. And if this video spoke to you now, comments, I carry this cosmic energy if you are from twins and recognize what pulsates inside you. Or write, I recognize the power of twins if you live with someone in this sign, and now you finally understand the depth of this presence. Each comment here is a vibrational echo. It is a spiritual seal. It is a sign for the universe that this message was received, that this portal was activated. Enjoy this video now, because when you interact with spiritual content like this, you are not just by clicking a button, you are participating in an expansion, reverberation, connection energy ritual. Subscribe too, because what comes next goes even deeper. In the next episode, we will cross even denser and dangerous territory. Let's talk about Scorpio. And what happens when you betray a Scorpion? Get ready, because the result is even darker. And maybe you're not ready for what you will find out. If you got here, it is because this message has resonated deeply with your soul, and this is not by chance. If something in you vibrated differently, if you felt that this content spoke directly to your spirit, then this channel is your place. Subscribe now to continue receiving revelations like this, because each video that comes next will further deepen your spiritual awakening. Now I want to ask you something simple but powerful. Comments down here, I have crossed the portal. This will be our secret sign, a code of those who stayed until the end, from those who received the whole message and is ready to walk even deeper into this spiritual journey. And of course, if you felt that this video really touched you, leave the like now. This helps the algorithm to deliver this energy to more people who also need to awaken. Your like is part of our collective ritual, and it doesn't come out without continuing. The next video is already appearing here on the left side of your screen. Click on it now and come with me. Understand what happens when someone cheats on a Scorpion. The energy changes completely, and the revelation is even more intense. I find you there.